Trump doesn't mess around. I mean, literally, he is going to bring these jobs back to America.
Right.
But the point is, everything that Trump is doing is beneficial for Americans moving forward. And when he says he's going to make America great again, at this point, if you don't believe it, you're living in a cave.
So what we're talking about is just like being able to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
Well, this past week was filled with more great news from the Trump administration. The rise of gold and silver has been amazing to watch and be a part of. Dr. Kirk Elliott continues to keep us posted on many moves that will have a positive impact on our lives, including the tariffs and the layoffs. We're going to get into that today. Of course, Tulsi Gabbard, a couple of updates before we get to his interview. Per the President of the United States directive, I have revoked former President Joe Biden's security clearance and revoked clearances and access to classified information for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Fiona Hill, and Alexander Vindman. Another day of great news for all of us to witness. Now, I wanted to move forward to other big moves. Trump administration shuts down the USAID, fires remaining staff after multiple court battles. The Trump administration has officially moved to dissolve USAID, issuing a final memo informing remaining staff they are fired as part of a merger with the State Department. Of course, we have this from Ben Garrison, thegraphics.com. You're right, Elon. There is no Apple. It's all worms. The USAID, they are finally being put to rest. And I've noticed, just to let you know on the side, many of the world news media, and I got some information even out of Japan, most of the Japanese television networks, we found out, were funded by USAID. That includes other countries. More information on where our tax dollars has been going. We are going to wake up to just how much was stolen from us, funding the rest of this earth, taking the blessings that God gave our nation. And the enemy stepped in and took those blessings away and sent them off to other places, so we cannot have the impact we've had for so long. Elon Musk and DOGE have reportedly carried out mass firings at the U.S. Institute of Peace after they failed to deliver peace. How can anyone argue with that, says Nick Sortor. The Institute of Peace is just another deep state front like USAID with a cutesy name which doesn't at all reflect what they do. Clear them out. And Mississippi abolishes the state income tax, an historic win for working families and economic freedom from the Gateway Pundit. That's right. The abolition of the state income tax marks a significant victory for economic freedom and working families. Governor Tate Reeves heralds this transformative change as a turning point for the state's future prosperity. It makes me wonder what's coming for the big day, Liberation Day. We're going to have our Liberation Day special live Q&A. You guys can ask questions. We'll be live on Rumble April 2nd at 7 p.m. We'll release that link soon so that you guys can tune in. We're going to have a special guest with us going through the cue board and some other things. I think it's going to be a good time. We're going to celebrate the things that happened throughout the day. We're looking forward to those updates. Of course, one of the big ones for most of us is the tariffs. We think the tariffs are going to be announced. And man, having the car import tax, 25%, you'd think that the folks might be a little upset within the auto area, but check this out.
There's a lot of capacity. There's a lot of underutilized plant space, floor space. They can move product back into existing plants. They can expand and add on to existing plants. There's a lot of people that are on layoff or working a bare minimum 40 hours. We want to rock and roll and work 6 and 7 days a week. That's where the money's at for the workers. And the people in Macomb County and the Detroit area want work. We want overtime. We want jobs. We want new facilities. So we welcome this. Tariffs are going to be an excellent thing for the auto industry here in the United States.
It absolutely is amazing. The external revenue source might be announced also. And I tell you what, there's some excitement, even though many are speculating on how it's going to play out. I believe some great news is coming in that area. Stick around after we release the interview with Dr. Kirk Elliott. I'm going to show you a key component to that interview with the DOGE team on the restructuring, the focus on reforming the federal payroll systems, and the details on the efforts to verify payments and find fraud. And also wanted to show you a clip where Elon Musk talks about an end to the Ukraine-Russian war. And Brett Barr tried to set him up as saying that he did something negative against Senator Mark Kelly by calling him a traitor. I tell you what, the answer is phenomenal. Can't wait to show you that. First, here's Dr. Kirk Elliott. It's great to have Dr. Elliott with us once again, every week getting amazing updates. Tell you what, folks, it's been one whirlwind. Day after day, we continue to just be overwhelmed with what President Trump and his team has been doing. Last week, upon this recording, we had the JFK files dropped. It was pretty amazing, about 80,000 pages plus. A lot of things came out from that. Now we have Crossfire Hurricane was signed executive order. If anybody's responsible for going after a president or taking him down or attempting to take him down, they're in big trouble. And it didn't take more than 2 months for them to finally put this out. And boy, I bet you everyone responsible for that is in trouble and shaking in their boots now, Dr. Elliott.
Well, LT, you've seen a lot, right? From military experience to all the research that you do. And I bet you're like me and you're thinking in the first 2 months of a presidency, I've never seen somebody who's been so action oriented and got so much done in the first 2 months, more than what most presidents have done in 4 or even 8 years of service.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's just an onslaught of activity and beneficial activity. It's not just busy work. I mean, these things are paradigm shifting moments for America.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it kind of reminds me in the Marine Corps, we always had new leaders come in and out. We had to move every 3 years too. So there was a constant change in leadership through our entire 20 plus year career. When a new sergeant major comes in, the big boy, it seems like every time they walk in the office, we knew big change was coming. And man, if anybody was responsible for, I don't know, just nothing illegal, but say they didn't PT as much physical training, the new guy would come in and fix that. And after 2 months, we were all sore and dying. We had to run every day for 4 to 5 miles. So, that kind of thing. Or like trying to catch up with this new guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, just kind of just reminds me of that. And been pretty good too for us on the front when it comes to anything happening with the enemy. Those guys are getting pummeled. If we're overwhelmed, those guys can't even keep up. And it's wonderful to watch.
It is amazing. I mean, even last week, which is old news now, but it points to the picture of what Trump is doing. So when he decided, hey, I'm going to actually put some tariffs on Venezuela because of the horrible gangs that are coming across the border, and we've got them all over Denver and Aurora, which has been on the news forever. So not only did he place tariffs on Venezuela, which would make sense, right? He's using tariffs as a negotiating tool. It's like, we're really going to impact your economy unless you take care of business and get these criminals to go back, right? I mean, sort of tariff is the negotiating power. But he went one step further on that one and said, all right, Venezuela, I mean business. Any country that you do business with, we're going to put a tariff on their stuff too until you start to comply.
My goodness.
I mean, literally, I kind of like giggle a little bit. It's like, oh my word. He just went for the gusto here. It's like, not only is he going to slap a tariff on them, on every country that does business with them, who's going to want to do business with Venezuela? And all they have to do is get the horrible gang of death out of America. Just take them back and put them in prison where they came from. And then you know what? There won't be any tariffs on you or on the countries that do business with you. It's like, wow, that is no wonder he wrote the book on negotiating. I mean, that's not really much of a negotiation. It's like,
Yeah.
how could any country say no if they realize all of their business from other countries are going to be impacted as well?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Now, of course, those nations are probably calling them up and saying, look, hey, we don't like this, Venezuela. You better make some moves because we don't want to be tariffed. Oh, this is so good. You had a headline that you sent me here. The Treasury Department set to lay off substantial number of employees, official says. So President Trump continues to make moves with his team.
Yeah. I mean, so when we're talking tariffs, right, what we're talking about is revenue.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking this kind of stuff, it's cutting expenses. And for America to be great and fantastic again and more productive and more efficient, you actually have to have both, in my opinion. You can't just have the tariffs without cutting spending, and you can't just cut spending without having some mechanism to increase revenue, right? So we've got both, which increases that divide. And the more that we can increase in that divide of revenue, increase revenue, decrease expenses, your net profit goes up. That's how business works.
Yeah.
And Trump might be the first president possibly ever. I mean, I love President Reagan. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was amazing. But Trump might be the first president ever who's actually looking at America as a business. Right. And starting to reduce some of this spending. Last week we talked about how the executive order was passed to eliminate the entire Department of Education.
Right.
Right now, you're slashing 100,000 people from the Treasury Department, and the basically the undersecretary of the Treasury in charge of HR is now in compliance, actually cutting 100,000 people.
Oh, phenomenal!
Right? And so, I know what's exciting to me about that is what's part of the Treasury Department, the IRS. Is like, okay, all of these 86,000 people or whatever that Biden had hired and armed, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 100,000 people being cut. And it makes sense to me. It's not just that I want somebody to lose their job. I want inefficient government employees to possibly lose their jobs when it's just taxpayer dollars that are paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel sorry for them. I mean, they have families and they have jobs, right? It just so happens they work for something that possibly doesn't need to exist. So why would, other than, I mean, I can't imagine being an IRS, agent. It was like most hated person on the planet. I mean, imagine every morning you go into work, you're going to tick somebody off, right? It's like, what a horrible job. Right. But here's why wouldn't that be needed? Why would they start to cut 100,000 jobs? Right? Well, if you look at some of the things that Trump is doing, possibly eliminating personal income taxes and everybody that makes 150,000 or less, possibly getting rid of the IRS altogether, possibly just changing things to what would be a fair consumption tax, national sales tax, rather than income taxes. At some point, you don't need these jobs. And I think preemptively laying some of these people off maybe projects where we're going in this country. And to me, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's prep work. Definitely. I didn't even think about that. But another thing I think about through all this, Dr. Elliott, is the fact that we're having all of these companies that are actually moving into the United States, and they're saying, we're going to build a factory. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're bringing $1 billion here, $1 billion there, whatever. And I think, well, where are the jobs? They're going to have openings like crazy throughout America for these companies that are moving in. They're going to say, look, we're hiring. And so I just look at it through the biblical perspective. If you're a believer out there and you happen to work for a Treasury Department, hey, bring it to the Lord in prayer. And next thing you know, you're looking for jobs and you find out, oh my goodness, there's stuff all over the United States right now. They're hiring. And that's the way I look at it, is there's just a shift in the way of thinking, is I can leave the government and I can actually move to something that's going to be pretty big for our country. And also that just kind of brings in what we were sharing, or what you were sharing with me earlier. These tariffs on cars could bring, I'm actually looking at, I think it was Hyundai says they're going to be moving into the United States. They're going to have a steel factory and more. And here's that 25% tariff that President Trump just talked about. Here you go.
Is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been saying, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think billing is
business coming back to the United States. So they don't have to pay tariffs.
I mean, get a load of what he said. The tariffs on foreign-made automobiles used to be 2.5%. Now, we've heard over the last few weeks that he was going to put tariffs on European automobiles of 25%, on Mexico and Canada of 25%. Why? Because Trump wanted the manufacturing to come back here.
Right.
This one just takes it to a whole new level. Any car, any company from any country of origin, it doesn't matter. If it's not made in America, it's going to have a 25% tariff on it. So here's something that I was thinking about, because he made this announcement on Wednesday. And as I was thinking about that, you've got American car manufacturers like Ford and GM and whoever that might be manufacturing in Mexico. That's now going to have a tariff on it. So he's going to force even American companies to have their plants in Indiana, in Alabama, wherever they have them, right? But imagine every car in the world that's not actually manufactured in America, come the beginning of April, it's going to be 25% more expensive. Like, oh my word. Right. So here's where Trump doesn't mess around. I mean, literally, he is going to bring these jobs back to America.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter the company, whether it's Honda or Toyota or Audi or BMW or Mercedes or the Italian car manufacturers like I don't know, French Fiat and Lamborghinis. It's like all of them. But even American car companies that happen to have manufacturing plants in Mexico because it was cheaper, they're going to get penalized based on Trump's language, because the language is simple. It has to be manufactured in America. So here's where you were spot on just a few minutes ago when you were talking about maybe IRS agents, or all these Treasury agents, having their jobs dismantled.
Right.
Well, Taiwan Semiconductor, who's moving the biggest plant in the world to Arizona, which I can't remember the number, so don't quote me on it, but it was either this would make America either 40% or 60% of all the chip manufacturing in the world would now be done in America. I mean, it's a massive number. So let's just take the difference. It's like 50% of all the chips in America or in the world will be manufactured in America. So these are going to have controllers coming in, auditors, manufacturing people, white collar, blue collar, all of that. When you have the largest semiconductor chip manufacturing facility in the world coming to America, why? To avoid the tariffs. Because they want to stay competitive. Same thing with the car manufacturers. Same thing with every single company. I mean, this is going to be amazing. So the only thing that I see this being a problem for a company would be the big pharma companies, because they're not going to be able to advertise anymore. If RFK Jr. gets his way, it's like no more drug ads where have
same thing. RFK Jr. I was just thinking this as you were talking. It's like, okay, the advertising on TV maybe could change. These companies that, like the chip company, says, "Hey, just want to let you know we're hiring. Reach out to our website, and you 100,000 that need a job. Come on over."
I mean, I'm so excited actually for that one, because you're watching a football game on TV and some ad comes up with two old people swinging on a swing for 10 seconds, and then it's 50 seconds of all the horrible side effects.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're going to die. You're going to internally bleed. You might get brain damage, but you're going to swing on a swing happily, right? It's like, oh my word. So those things are going to be gone potentially if RFK Jr. gets his way. So is the red dye that causes cancer. That's going to be gone. I mean, and probably he's going to go one step further and have healthy food again, with maybe get rid of GMO type food. Who knows?
Right.
But the point is, everything that Trump is doing is beneficial for Americans moving forward. And when he says he's going to make America great again, at this point, if you don't believe it, you're living in a cave, because the last 2 months have proven all of this, that he's not messing around.
Yeah, this headline also, just wanted to throw in real quick. The negative GDP growth is more likely than not, says former Fed Reserve Vice Chair Alan Blinder. What is this? What's going on here?
So I wanted to bring this in because Trump is going to get blamed for what happens between now and the end of the year.
Oh, got it.
Right. But they've already said, Bessent, Secretary of Treasury Bessent, said this won't be Trump's economy for 6 months. Well, it's March. 6 months puts us in the last quarter. Lutnick said, wait till the fourth quarter. The economy is going to be clicking on all cylinders, right? So, but we talked about this. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. The words that they don't say are sometimes more important than the ones that they do. What's going to happen over the next 6 months? It's the hangover effect from Bidenomics, right? It's decreasing wages. It's increasing unemployment. It's printing money like there was no tomorrow. It's this global tension that they actually created. A lot of this, LT, started the de-dollarization of the world when Biden made a colossal blunder. I mean, it was horrible when he thought that, hey, I hate Russia for actually fighting against Ukraine, my buddy Zelensky. So let's kick him out of the banking system. Let's force the issue and starve out the Russian population.
Okay.
It was that move of kicking Russia out of the SWIFT system that caused Russia and China to be married and connected at the hip. Because China said, we've got our own system, BRICS, and theirs is called CIPS, which is, I don't know what it stands for, but it's like SWIFT. It's how all banks in the BRICS nations, send money back and forth. So when Biden tried to stop Russia from getting any kind of international money flow coming into the nation, they just shifted from Western banking to Eastern banking.
Right.
And so this was what brought BRICS, which has been around for a while, to BRICS plus. Really put their marriage on steroids, really intensified the magnitude of what they could do, and accelerated the de-dollarization of the world. So now here comes Trump reversing all of this. But the reason that this is important is it's not going to happen overnight, right? So earlier this week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell basically said, he said that the GDP growth was like a little bit less than 2%. So why does this article say it's negative? Well, this is what we've been saying. So in real terms, this is the first article I've seen where they've actually talked in real terms, because we've talked a lot over the last couple of years about the inflationary pressures on America, how it's not what they say that it is. Inflation's not 3%. Go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, go anywhere. True unofficial inflation is hovering more in the 12% range, even today, right? Because they understate it, going all the way back to 1996, the Boskin Commission. People can type that in. President Clinton ordered this commission in Congress to actually understate inflation because government payments were tied to the official inflation rate. So your cost of living increases, all of that. They understated it on purpose. So if inflation's really at 12% and GDP growth is now 2%, less than 2%, what does that mean for real economic growth? GDP is the measurement of everything that we buy that's made domestically at retail prices. So inflation should be covered in that. So if GDP is going up 2%, inflation is 12%, that means the economy is actually shrinking by 10% a year.
Okay.
So this is where this is the first article I've seen where former Federal Reserve Vice Chairman said, we actually do have negative GDP growth. It's not even positive. It's not even 2%. Why? Because he's coupling in the inflationary factor on it, which means we're shrinking by 10% a year. This is a problem that Trump inherited, which is why I believe this is completely why he has to take these dramatic measures and penalize Venezuela for the illegal gangs, but penalize every country that does business with Venezuela, because we can't have these kind of unfair playing fields anymore. And so if you want to do business with a corrupt nation, you're going to pay for it. Do business with us. If you're going to sell us your automobiles, you're just going to have a tax on it unless you manufacture them here.
That's right.
Imagine, I can't even think of the last time, LT, and maybe you can, the last time we actually had a strong leader in the presidency. I can't think of a time.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Reagan, right?
Yeah.
But that's the last time.
Yeah.
And that was 1980 to 1988. It's been a long void of leadership at the helm.
That's true. That's true.
Other than Trump 1.0. But now he's back. He should have never been gone, but he's back again.
That's right. That's
awesome.
right. Well, we appreciate your leadership, Dr. Elliott, in providing updates for us on silver and gold. I've noticed it's been climbing. And man, I'm so glad that we jumped in when we did. And I think it's going to continue to grow. You've given us those updates on that, and it's just been tremendous. And folks, a reminder, andweknow.com/gold in the description box below. Just click on that, and you'll be able to reach out to Dr. Kirk Elliott and his team, and somebody there will reach back to you in 48 hours. There's also a phone that you can actually make to them. What's that number again?
720-605-3900, 720-605-3900. Just say that LT sent you. And we talked a lot about the economy. Here's the bottom line. In a growth economy that Trump is going to bring, the manufacturing demand for silver will skyrocket.
That's right.
Which is why we're in silver. I mean, really, for such a time as this, Trump is going to be so much better for the silver market than Kamala Harris would have been.
Yep.
You know, fear causes people to react to things. It's a powerful motivator. Nothing is more motivating than greed, though, actually.
Right.
And as Trump grows the economy and you can actually own and control what is needed for the economy to grow in silver and so many different technologies, the people who are motivated by greed, which is most of the world, are going to start flocking into that and creating more demand. Now, us, we're motivated by biblical wisdom and discernment and safety and protection.
Right.
We just identify these trends and we can act accordingly. And this is where we can really thrive in these times.
Yeah. Amazing what you guys have done, especially for our family. And we've seen significant growth in our IRA, that's for sure. So thanks once again, Dr. Kirk Elliott. Amazing update. Just great things every week. It's so good to wake up every day knowing our country is moving in the right direction. And we're moving forward in biblical, I believe, era for each and every one of us. And we look forward to next week's update.
I look forward to it as well. We'll see you soon.
Amazing interview. Tell you what, folks, we are moving strong, moving forward. We're going to go into the golden era. I can feel it now. As promised, I've got a couple of interviews to drop here before we close in prayer.
And more on interest expense than we do on defense, for example. So there's a lot going out the door. But my focus actually, while I've been here, has been on the agency side and on the workforce side, and how is the federal workforce of 2.3 million civilians, how's it constituted, how does it function? There are 259 discrete departments in the federal government. One of the things we did was we did an ontology of the full federal government using AI and brute force to map out 16,000 boxes on the federal government org chart. And then it's how do we get this to be efficient? For example, at the federal government, one of the things we've learned is you've got 4 payroll processors in the federal government. So 2.3 million employees get paid. They get paid through 4 payroll processors. One is in the Department of Interior, One is in the Department of Agriculture. They actually do very good work at this team at the Agriculture Department, but it's at the Agriculture Department, and they serve 76 federal agencies from the Agriculture Department for payroll. Everything from the IRS to the Smithsonian gets paid through the Agriculture Department. So that just doesn't make any sense. There should be one. You can debate where it should go. You should get the efficiencies of pulling those together. You should get the information that comes from pulling those together. So that's what we're facing on the workforce front. And you made the comment about shooting from the hip, and I want to just talk about that for a moment.
That's just what critics say.
Yeah, it couldn't be further from the truth. So I want to talk about what we're doing with these restructuring plans. We literally go in, and we're doing this mostly at nights and over the weekends, with the secretaries of these agencies and their senior staff. And we're going line by line, in employee org charts, line by line from the bottom up, talking about every function. Is it duplicative? Yes. Okay. What are we going to do with these 40 communications officers? We don't need 40. How many do we need? How are we going to consolidate them? What's the right team to pull that together? And it is happening at the highest level, and it is line by line, box by box on these org charts.
With these secretaries?
Absolutely. The secretaries and their senior staff, and also, really importantly, senior career staff. And I've got to say, I think all of us have been, it's been an amazing experience. There are some very, very smart, hardworking people who are career civil servants, and they're involved in these conversations as well to build out these plans for what these organizations should look like.
Tom Krause, working at Treasury, you are having access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. We're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively, they could say, make the payment, and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification. And so all we're trying to do is put in basic controls. And then the last thing is really on the accounting side of things. Today, when a bill is passed, a budget bill or a continuing resolution as we have right now, that actually does set a budget. It doesn't set a budget for the whole government as a whole. It actually sets it by fund. And so if you think about it, there's actually 11,000 funds across these 580 plus agencies. But today, on a real-time basis, not even a near real-time basis, we cannot account for what's being dispersed by fund.
And the hope is to be able to turn that where you could see it.
Turn that so we can see it, and we're very close to producing that. And why is that important? Well, by law, these agencies at the fund level are not allowed to spend more than their budget. But if you don't have the information and you don't track it, how do you know?
And Arm, the technical side of moving these computers to new age, I mean, it's a challenge, right?
Absolutely. And one thing I'll say is that almost every longtime government employee that I've met is incredibly excited about taking a serious look at the fraud. They have seen it firsthand for many years and see this as kind of an opportunity to use technology to address $500 billion a year of fraud. I think that on the modernization side, it might actually surprise people how basic the improvements we're making are.
Yeah, this is really, like, we can't emphasize this enough. What I'm saying is, like, the things we're talking about are so basic that the federal government can't pass an audit. It doesn't know where the money's going. Like, so what we're talking about is just like being able to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
But the biggest pot is either in Social Security or, I guess, Medicare, Medicaid, right?
Yeah, but I can speak to Medicare and Medicaid a little bit. We're 100% committed to protecting Medicare and Medicaid.
But at the same time, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, has said there's $84 billion a year in improper payments. And so how does that happen? I'll just give you a couple of examples. So one, we're finding there's actually an article in the Wall Street Journal about this, that there's individuals who are getting paid, or the health plans are getting paid in 2 separate states for the same individual. So New York pays for somebody's Medicaid and Connecticut pays for somebody's Medicaid. And you say, how could that possibly happen? And the reason is they have individual data systems. They run their programs separately. The federal government kind of sort of collects the data, but does not put it together to identify those opportunities. So that's a really concrete example of we're paying twice when we don't need to be paying twice. Paying once won't affect anybody's health care.
You know, a lot is coming your way, but sometimes you say stuff or post stuff that gets attention. You give it out, in other words. Democratic Arizona Senator Mark Kelly posted on X about his trip to Ukraine to push for continuing to send U.S. weapons and support there, and you posted that he was a traitor. Well, why do that?
Well, I think somebody should care about the interests of the United States above the interests of another country. And sure. If they don't, they're a traitor.
Yeah, but he's a decorated veteran, a former astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator.
It doesn't mean it's okay for him to put the interests of another country above America.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but there is a battle back and forth about how do you think it comes to an end?
Well, I think there will be a negotiated peace, and the thing that we should be concerned about is we should have empathy for the thousands of people that are dying every day in trenches, for no movement in the lines. So the borders remain the same. For the past 2 years, thousands of people have died every week for nothing. For what? And I take great offense at those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because they're virtue signaling, and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
Elon Musk not messing around. But I tell you what, the play and the work that has been done from his team has been absolutely phenomenal. And no matter what, the enemy is going to look for ways to destroy all of these things that are happening right now. If you guys didn't know, there's a lot of stuff on social media. There are people with big platforms that are now starting to go after Trump's administration in different ways. It's really slick how these big ones continue to grow. They pull millions of people in, and then all of a sudden they do a little switch up and they start talking bad about RFK Jr. and others. Be real careful and in prayer when watching these other big channels, folks, and hopefully you have an understanding, guided by the Holy Spirit, of what they're up to. Insurrection Barbie put this out. Under 4 years of Biden, not one Democrat or media organization demanded the resignation of anyone or even discussed the following. This is so good how she words this. They left $7.1 billion of military-grade equipment to the Taliban. They abandoned Bagram Air Base, which cost us $96 million to construct. They sent $18.5 billion of our tax dollars to terrorist states over the course of 4 years. $320 million dock in Gaza that collapsed. They gave $10 billion to Iran so they could go to war with Israel and involve us. And they withdrew from Afghanistan in such an insane way that caused the Russia-Ukraine war. But now that some journalists saw some text messages in Signal Chat about an operation that was successfully concluded, the world is over? Good question. These folks who are demanding resignations are the ones who are scared, folks. They are in big trouble. They know it. We're only a little, probably, in the 2-month to the 3-month phase. Imagine what's going to look like a year from now. They are running scared, the enemy. They're doing all they can to continue to throw their grenades behind their back as they run as fast as they can. Imagine that. All the information is coming out to expose them, and they have nowhere to hide. We, the people, are waking up to their schemes. We need to stay in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much once again for your continued guidance and direction in our lives. Thank you for Dr. Kirk Elliott, who continues to show us how we can move towards a biblical understanding of all that's going on. May we continue to have understanding. May we have grace on those that don't know fully what's going on. Allow us to be able to share the truth with many others out there. We ask for continued protection over all of our lives, over President Trump, over those that are on the front lines fighting this battle against a terrible, entrenched, evil enemy. We ask all this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great remainder of your week. Looking forward to getting more information out to you soon. Thank you so much for sending pictures to us wearing the gear. We are getting a lot of those now. We're hoping to get so much more. Also, just want to remind you guys, if you didn't know, we have the cruise coming up with LT. The At Sea with LT is what we call it. Navigating Truth, Hope, Faith, and Freedom, July 13th through the 20th, 2025. Looking forward to meeting most of you there. Laura Logan is going to be with us. We're also going to have Tim Lovelace, an amazing comedian. He brings tears with laughter. You're going to be absolutely overwhelmed and excited to have him there with us. So for now, this is LT saying Semper Fi with Them We Know, signing out.